I think I've been inspired. I think what I did has been done in different ways and forms. I think, there's been many different projects, applications that have been funded by Bitcoin, and are really just, yeah, I'm a wit I'm in the audience. I'm a fan, and I've seen it happen with my own eyes. And I think it birthed a frustration in me, be like, I want to put Tanzania on the map some way, somehow. How can I do it? And I was just very blessed that my network in the Bitcoin community and Nostr community was enough to kind of get enough traction. To kind of I think it was about $600 total for me to climb it. To pay all those fees. And I wasn't asking for 50,000 or anything like that. So it was something I felt was achievable and noticeable, and something, from what I understood about the community, that they would get behind.
Yeah. Man like, man like Kweks. Man like who? Brunson on the beat. Yo. Nostr, look what you made me do. Man like Kweks, man like who? Just climbed Kilimanjaro. I just climbed Kilimanjaro. I made it here with Nostr zaps. Zappathon man got my back. Thank you to BTC Map. Geyser fund them, Stemster fam. What's the goal? What's the plan? Tanzania needs Bitcoin, man. So I went up to Uhuru Peak. Now the whole wide world can hear me speak. I'm open source about my dreams. I know any change gotta start with me. A proof of work academy. We DCA to BTC.
Okay, I think we're good to go. Hello, everybody. We are back. We are here today with Man Like Kweks, who is coming to us from Tanzania, our first guest from Tanzania, which is awesome. I reached out to him on a whim after seeing him complete his recent climb. He conquered Mount Kilimanjaro, and it was partially or fully funded by Bitcoin donations. So I was like, I got to reach out to this guy and see how this went. So he agreed to do it, and here he is. So I'm going to give a quick introduction, then allow him to introduce himself. As I said, I saw him climbing Kilimanjaro. That sort of piqued my interest as someone who trains as a triathlete, likes to be outdoors. He's into Bitcoin, which is cool. And then also he makes music, which I found out from Lorraine Marcel at Bitcoin Data. So there was a lot to like here. Yes, please, I'll hand it over to you. Please introduce yourself a bit to the audience and fill in anything I didn't share there.
No, thank you for the intro, and thank you for inviting me, Frank. When I received your message, I was a few days from the summit, which was
Oh,
pretty
okay.
cool. And I think basically what I set out to do had kind of happened by getting some interest from our community, the Bitcoin community, Nostr community, really just trying to gain some awareness about uh, Bitcoin in Africa, Nostr in Africa, and
Yep.
specifically Tanzania. So yeah, I'm based in Tanzania, live here, with my wife and my daughter, and yeah,
Nice.
we're just happy to be learning more about Bitcoin, and
Cool.
kind of took on this task and this challenge because, um, a Kilimanjaro is kind of in our backyard. It's kind of here, and I thought it was just a great opportunity to kind of show a proof of work kind of task,
Yeah.
and kind of create a case study, for what I want to do, which is Bitcoin education, and
Mm.
kind of just break down the barriers for especially those who are here in Tanzania, just understanding, learning about Bitcoin and the power of it, and then also just celebrate those in the community, the Bitcoin as a community, and how they can support different projects around the world, borderless, peer-to-peer payments. And yeah, I got to thank all the different platforms. I'd love to thank as well, but yeah, just that concept was really intriguing to me. So that's kind of why I took on the challenge.
I love it. And the title of your academy, the Proof of Work Academy, I love that too. Um,
Mm.
I do really love this idea of you're not just sort of saying I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna climb Kilimanjaro, kind of do something inspiring, but do it in conjunction with raising the funds in Bitcoin. Um, do you think there's something about Bitcoin that inspires people to do difficult things, that inspires people to do notable things, that creative things and sort of notable things that get people's attention and, like I said, inspire others? Do you think it's something about the asset that does that?
Yeah, I think I've been inspired. I think what I did has been done in different ways and forms. I think, there's been many different projects, applications that have been funded by Bitcoin, and really just, yeah, I'm a wit I'm in the audience. I'm a fan, and I've seen it happen with my own eyes. And I
Yeah,
think it birthed a frustration in me, be like, I want to put Tanzania on the map some way, somehow. How can I do it? And I was just very blessed that my network in the Bitcoin community and Nostr community was enough to kind of get enough traction. To kind of I think it was about $600 total for me to climb it. To pay all those fees. And I wasn't asking for 50,000 or anything like that. So it was
sure.
something I felt was achievable and noticeable, and something, from what I understood about the community, that they would get behind. And yeah, I've seen it before, so I wasn't really reinventing the wheel. Just
Uh,
probably just a new challenge. Yeah.
yeah. How does it feel to be one of those figures in the community now? Someone that everybody had their eyes on, that they were supporting. Is it has it been a, what's the word? Not a triumphant feeling, but like, has it been satisfying to have accomplished what you set out to do?
I think it was out of my comfort zone because, like I said, for instance, if I'm known in the community as someone who makes music and kind of an artist, so so there was that. And for me, I love doing that, and it comes very naturally to me. So, again, I wanted to kind of break a barrier and kind of step into. I'm really looking to educate a community, really looking to kind of increase Bitcoin adoption in Tanzania, and
Yeah.
and I wanted some sort of credibility in that kind of sphere to kind of fork in a sense. So yeah, I think it just came. It was great that career in the music side will kind of aided this new endeavor. And then
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
it was really warming. It was really warming to see the same people who supported me through the music were supporting me in this task as well.
Cool. That's awesome. Um,
Yeah.
so when you sort of put an idea out there in the world, say you're going to raise money for it,
Mm.
when you sort of go all in on it, there's some inherent pressure, right? There's some pressure to now get this thing
Oh.
accomplished. Yeah. What did that feel like? And we talked just for a minute before we started recording. You said, it took a physical effort, an
Mm.
emotional effort, a spiritual effort. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, so just in the context of family, my wife and I, we just moved to a new location. So we moved to a new city. We're, starting a new project, an education project here in Arusha. So Arusha is called the Geneva of Africa, and it's usually and it's like the safari hub of Tanzania. So if you want to kind of go to
Cool.
pretty much most of the parks, you end up going via the city of Arusha. So it has a great
Okay.
international community to it, and a great feel to it. So so timing wasn't it wasn't perfect timing. We just kind of moved,
Yeah.
and we have an 18-month-old, and all the things with that. But again, I felt a calling in the sense of, like, I want to hit the ground running on this side. We were committed to our careers in Dar es Salaam, and I want to kind of start afresh here. And I think this will be a
Mm,
good way to do it. I'll be very honest. There was a lot of early days when it kind of went out. I think, like I said, people were not familiar with me doing educational projects. People familiar. If I said I'm going to drop an album, I think people would be more susceptible to that. But because I was saying I'm going
okay.
to climb Kili to start an education project, I think fair enough. It was kind of new. It was kind of like a curveball. and it did take a little bit of a while to kind of get that traction going. But I think also the tools that I used, the Geyser Fund page,
Mm-hmm.
they've really integrated with Nostr really, really well.
Mm,
So I'm not sure if you've used the page yet, but so basically when you post your page and you connect it with your Nostr,
mm-hmm.
each Geyser page gets you a lightning address. So mine was
Yep.
POWA at Geyser.fund. And then with Nostr, if you're sort of familiar with Nostr,
Yep.
you can have a lightning address. So all I did was put that lightning address on my Nostr profile, and I could be talking about the weather, I could be posting food, I could be whatever. And if you're zapping that, you're indirectly zapping my project,
Right.
which was very different which is very different to the first time I used it before Nostr, where I felt really challenged to kind of there was a lot of resistance because, for instance, if you were on Twitter, you'd have to leave Twitter to go to the Geyser, and then
Yep.
whatever steps you need to do to zap me, you would have to do that. So the level of resistance dropped like significantly,
Yep.
and someone would zap me like, and then they had a bot that would kind of come back and say, hey, thank you for zapping Man Like Kweks, Power Project, da 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 da, and then they'll be, oh, okay, what just happened here? Then more interest would happen, and people might even donate more.
Cool.
So like those tools are really really great. They helped a lot.
Nice.
They really really helped a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I actually I forget now. You're making I'm kind of questioning it, but I do have. I think it's Get Albi. I have that set up through Nostr, and I think I used the same address through Geyser Fund. But I do have to look into that a little bit more. I
Hmm.
didn't realize how seamless or how frictionless that it is. That's cool. That's really really cool to hear. Um, I have a bunch
Yeah.
of other questions about both being
Yeah.
outdoors, doing that stuff, and music. But there's one question that I meant to ask from the beginning: is where does the name "Man Like Kweks"
Mm.
come from? I've been curious since I first heard it. So if you could explain, that would be great.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's a question that comes up quite frequently, and it's a story. I have a lot of adopted nephews. So I was a teacher in a school in Dar es Salaam, and there was a group of young men who just, I mentored and were just close with. And so my last name is Kweka, so
Okay.
Kweka, and then they just shortened it to Quakes, like they shortened
Oh,
it like that. Um, and then one of them was just like, based off the way I do things, I was like, oh, that's Man Like Quakes, like that's the way he does, that's how he does stuff.
nice.
So it's kind of like a lifestyle or a way I do things. It just kind of he categorized it. Oh, it's like it's Man Like Quakes, like
Nice.
and then if they mimicked it, it was like, okay, that's like Man Like Quakes. So then when I heard it, I was like, oh my goodness, that just phrase sounded so awesome. I was like, that even sounds good for like a rap name. I was like, you know what,
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
I'm gonna just use that in my raps and stuff. And so now it's like a call. It's like Man Like Who, and then Man Like Quakes, and then
yeah.
it just works. So shout out to Mark Heap. That's my nephew who gave me the name. I even spoke
Cool,
to him the other day, and he's like, yeah, I said my name's worldwide now. He's like, yeah, no problem, Uncle, man, you're welcome. So all good. Yeah,
cool.
so I got that
I,
name from them.
I love it. That's actually, I was going to ask
Mm.
you what you also do professionally. So you're a teacher. What grades do you teach and what content or what subject matter do you teach?
Yeah, so I was in sports, so I got a sporting background. So I was a director of sports at an international Christian school in Dar es Salaam, and
Nice.
yeah, coaching, anything sport related was that physical education,
Mm.
all those things. So yeah, so very 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 into those things, and yeah, Bitcoin is big kind of it's kind of come close to that. So I'm probably gonna watch. I'm gonna actually stay up and watch that NFL game later on, the Lions and the Chiefs.
Oh, cool. Nice. Nice. And so, um, do you still teach full time? You teach, or you just moved? So will you be teaching in a similar sort of setting or
Yeah,
no?
we've moved. So my wife and her partner have set up a business for called the Learning Orchard. So we're setting up
Okay.
a learning center and kind of specifying on kids with need more learning accommodations.
Mm,
So it's a little bit more niche and a little bit more specific. So we've moved into that. So with that transition. I'm taking a little bit of time out
Okay.
regards to kind of jumping into something new, but my hope was to kind of establish some sort of Bitcoin education based in Arusha, and that's kind of
Mm,
how POWA started as well. So it
cool.
was like I needed a name and a proof of work at Academy, and also the word POWA is a response in Swahili. It's a Swahili word, so it kind
Mm,
of so I don't know if in Swahili a greeting is mambo.
okay.
And then the response is POWA. Like so, mambo
Okay.
is like how are things, and POWA
Yep.
means like things are cool. So
Okay.
again, it is targeting the youth and probably that younger generation. But yeah, I just wanted something cool, something fresh, and then linking it with proof of work and calling in an academy. It all just kind of worked. So yeah,
That's
that's how
amazing.
it's all linked together.
Super
Yeah.
creative. I was also a teacher by trade. I just stopped teaching about 2 years ago, so it's a fourth thing that we have in common. There's
Mm.
a lot of overlap here. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, man.
yeah, my Swahili. It's mine. I used to be a language teacher too, so I have a background in linguistics. So it's good that I'm
Okay.
learning. Dada was my first word in Swahili that I learned. Sister, obviously, from Bitcoin Dada, but I'm learning slowly but surely, which is good. Yeah.
Your Kaka, by
Uh,
the way, that's Ka is a brother.
oh, cool, cool,
So
very cool.
you
Much.
can be Bitcoin Kaka, no problem.
I like it. I'm into it. Very cool. So with your background, so let's quickly just get into the actual journey. How long did it take you to go from the base all the way to the top of Kilimanjaro?
So it was a in total 7 days trek, so up and down. So 5 days up, or really four and a half up, and then like two and a half down.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm not sure if you want to go through all the steps of it, or how how you
I
wanna
guess what
describe
I'm
it,
curious,
because
is it like is there like an actual climate change? Is there, do you have to do it at a certain rate so that your lungs sort of adjust to the difference in the air quality and stuff like that? Is there, are there physical reasons why you sort of have to
yeah.
take it slow? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there are different routes. First and foremost, there's different routes to the
Okay.
summit. And there's the route we took is a route called Machame. So that's a
Okay.
village on the slope of Kilimanjaro, and that's where my parents are from. So again,
Okay.
there was a bit of a sentimental value starting from that particular gate, and that gate is about 18,000 meters above sea level originally.
Hmm.
So so you go through different zones, so different climate zones. So you have a forest zone to begin with. So you notice like it's super green, trees are like, 30 feet tall and whatnot, and you're kind of walking through a forest zone.
Okay.
And then you're slightly going up to a new zone where there's kind of a shrubbery and kind of vegetation zone. And that's kind of the first base camp where you go. So there's Machame
Okay.
camp. And then yeah, so each time you're going higher, probably by, maybe about 800 or 1,000 meters higher each time or so. So the first camp, I think it was shy of 3,000 meters. Um, and then you acclimatize, so you sleep there, you camp.
Okay.
We had like my group was a group of five. So it was me and four other people, and then I had three guides, and then the porters as well. And they're just built different. They carry 20 kg, and they move 10. This is like some trips is like 7 to 10 kilometers. On an incline, and yeah, they move, and they're just super fit.
Wow.
And yeah, so basically you're slowly getting used to each zone
Okay.
as you go along. So that's why. So you can even do it in 5 days, you can do a shorter one, but 7 days I was advised. And the good thing about the Machame route is they call it the whiskey route because it has ups and downs.
Okay.
And yeah, so day three, you go from 3.9 to 4.6, 4,000 meters, sorry, 3,900 meters. I appreciate you use different metrics. And then 4,600 meters. It isn't all in one day, and then you go back down to like 3,800 meters.
Okay.
So actually that day it threw me off actually. That was a day that actually it really messed with me. Like headache and all the altitude sickness kind of hit me pretty hard.
Mm.
So yeah, but I did get to acclimatize to it, and then managed to strategize for the rest of the journey.
Okay. Very cool. Was there ever
Mm.
any period where you were like, what am I doing here? Is this going to work out? Is this not going to work out? Or was it just, you just sort of
Oh
expected it
man.
a little bit?
A mixture. I'll be very honest. Like the
Okay.
summit night, because again, like, so when you that after that particular day, you end up trekking up to 4-6 again. So I
Okay.
was a little bit conscious. If obviously you appreciate when you've had that experience, you're like, oh my days, 4-6 again. So I took some of the altitude sickness pills called Diamox, and it helped me
Oh,
with that.
interesting.
Um, yeah, so you take Diamox, and then so I took half, like 125 in the morning and 125 in the evening, and then so that helped a lot with that. So with the summit climb is quite difficult. So you start at midnight,
Okay.
and it's it's freezing cold, and then it's dark,
Mm,
and
yeah.
it's just like people just have headlamps on, and you just kind of like trekking in a line, and you're like snaking up the thing, and that took. I mean, I didn't get to the first point until like sunrise, so that's like imagine like 6-7 hours you're just walking at night, and I've got so many layers on. Like I've got like 4 layers on the bottom. I've got 5 layers on the top. I've got a woolly hat and all sorts. So there was a lot of questions asked. And also you're going from 4,600, breaking 5,000 meters, and then it's just a whole new thing. So you're going against the grain, and your body's like, I want to sleep. It's cold. Why am I here? What is this for? All these questions. Like it's a battle. It's a battle. Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations for pushing through it. Had you ever done
Thank you.
anything comparable? Was this like a first in terms of, is this the most extreme thing you've ever done physically, or?
No, no. So actually, I did it with the school I was working with previously about in 2020.
Oh, cool.
So, but with that one, I didn't summit. There are three peaks at Kilimanjaro. There is Gilman's Peak, there is Stella Point, and then there is Uhuru Peak, which is the highest one.
Okay.
So we took a different route called Marangu, and they call it the Coca-Cola route because it's
Okay.
a little bit more just gradual incline.
Mm,
And we was a group of 40 as well. So it was a little bit different, and a different kind of experience. And I was challenged by the summit. That was my first experience doing the summit actually, so I
okay.
had a bit more of experience of it, but the terrain is slightly different. It feels more like sand than actually going
Mm,
up on a rock. So
wow.
I was really challenged on that one, and I wasn't taking the altitude kind of medication either. So I managed to get to Gilman's, I think it's been a revenge mission ever since. So it was like I came back. I was like, I want to find the best route, and I'm gonna make sure I get to the summit as well. So yeah, I
That's
put a lot of
amazing.
pressure on myself as well by kind of posting it online as well. So
Yeah, that was my thought. It was just when you make something public like that, and when you're in the middle of the struggle,
Mm,
you're thinking to yourself like, what did I do here? Couldn't I have just sort of maybe not done this? But no,
definitely.
I think there's something, it's I spoke with I was speaking with Luthando and Bitcoin Akasi about doing difficult things, the importance of doing difficult things. And he talked about how he learned to surf a little bit later in life. And he talked about how difficult that is. And he talked about how difficult it was when he first tried to wrap his head around what Bitcoin is. And it's
Mm,
important that we do these things. And I think it's important that we're a model for doing these things, especially like you're a
mm,
teacher. It's important that people see this. And you have now literally and metaphorically put yourself on the map, and with that, even now that you're done, it comes with there's notoriety, but then there's also a certain degree of, yeah, there's eyes on you, some responsibility maybe, and it
mm,
has to be, I guess, an exciting feeling. We're at this amazing sort of turning point in human history. You're now sort of
mm,
you've put yourself on the map as this sort of representative for this new monetary slash information phenomenon that is Bitcoin, for a country.
mm.
Is that exciting to you? Are you proud of it, or are you excited to have sort of taken on this role for Tanzania?
I think yeah, that's it's a great question, and I think it. I've had many years thinking of how
Oh,
of
interesting.
how can it be a collaborative thing? How can increase adoption of Bitcoin in Tanzania? Like how can it be celebrated? And just a lot of hows.
Yep,
And I'm sure this it flirted I flirted with the idea of climbing Kilimanjaro, but I mean, with Nostr and Geyser Fund, like it just kind of like a lot of the tools kind of were I can't kind of facilitate at the right time.
yep.
So even also I got a big shout out to BTC Map as well, Nathan Day. Like I pitched him the idea. And similarly, I don't know if you've used the app BTC Map. It's a
I
really
haven't yet.
cool app where yeah, it's a really cool app. You can just download it on the App Store and Google Play Store, where you can where it encourages merchants to put themselves on the map.
Okay.
So you would just open up your map. It feels like Google Maps, and then you can just find Bitcoin stores like merchants on there, and you go global, you go worldwide. And the thing is, like for me, like obviously the first place I looked was Tanzania, and it was bare. Like there was nothing there. There was no
Mm,
merchants. There was no like light bulbs there. There was nothing. Like you go over Europe and you see great things. You go over America, you see all these great stuff. You see all these different little stores, like just so many, like a cluster. And then you look over like Africa, and it's just like I mean, I was looking specifically at Tanzania, and it's just like there was somewhere in Mwanza, I think I saw, and it was just that was about it. And I was like, no, it's got to change. So as much as the notoriety came, it was more the sense of like it was a birth of a frustration of how can I have an opportunity to kind of make a change,
yeah.
and it was great in the sense of it bridged the two communities. So I
Okay.
welcomed my Bitcoin community who I've grown with and who I've learned from. And then like I have my TZ community who don't know much about Bitcoin, but they know me. And even my nephews, like my nephews, my mentees who I talk, they're like, oh wow, like how much is 2 million sats? I was like, oh, it's almost like $550. He's like, oh, for real? Like, you raised that? Like, and it came from worldwide? I was like, yeah, that's how it
Yep,
happened, man. Like the costs were covered. So it was a real tangible case study. So now,
yep,
with POWA, the project, like that's my case study. When I'm gonna go to schools in Arusha, like it's just there. It's the numbers don't lie, like, and the pictures don't lie. That's how I got up the mountain through
yep,
Zaps,
yeah,
through Bitcoin, through Satoshis, and people from all over the world, contributed to that. So yeah, it's just the beginning. It was just something. It was something to kind of a catalyst to kind of help me, kind of share what the potential of Bitcoin basically. Yeah.
yeah. I love it. Yeah, that's amazing. It's a great story, and
Mm,
I couldn't have been happier that I reached out just to hear that part of it. That's amazing. I think it's I think
mm,
because we're going through this really interesting time in human history with Bitcoin becoming more widely adopted. Um,
mm,
I truly think that people are going to look back at who some of the sort of major teachers were around the world, and you're going to be remembered. That's my opinion. So I think that you're doing something maybe bigger than
that's
you
deep.
even sort of recognize right now. Yeah, and I hope that that's the case
Yeah.
at least. Speaking of
Thank
someone
you.
who will be remembered, I was speaking with Okin in Namibia, who is quite a character, and
Oh my days.
yeah, he's wild. And we actually, it was weird. I lived in Namibia for a little bit, and I actually was friends with some of his
Okay.
friends, but we never crossed paths, which was super weird. Yeah, super weird. But
Wow. Yeah.
I had one of his friends gave me a record by a group he was in called Black Vulcanite. And there was one track on that record that I absolutely love called I Hope They Write. And while we were talking, he mentioned to me, he's like, oh, I used to be in this, I think it was a trio, this hip hop trio called Black Vulcanite. I'm like, you were in, like, I have that literally on my hard drive. I have those MP3s randomly, super random. Um, what that made me think of is actually what I wanted to ask you next about. There's a lot of creative types in Bitcoin too. So there's people like you, someone
Hmm.
like Paco de la India, who's traveling around the world on Bitcoin and documenting that. Another sort of big task, a big feat. But then there's also
mm,
there's creative people. There's people like Okin who are, who were creators as well. And he talked about how discovering Bitcoin, he just felt like a kid playing. Like there's all these new apps to learn
mm,
and all this new, technology to learn. Do you see any
mm.
sort of parallel to creating music and to getting involved in the Bitcoin world? Do you feel that the Bitcoin world is inherently creative and that there's a lot of creative stuff happening there, much like the music world?
Yeah, I mean, especially, Nosta's really opened the door for me. Like, they now, like, I'm even wearing purple now. Like, Nosta and Bitcoin just go together so well. I
Mm.
was literally just, I was almost late for this call because I was on Nosta and something just happened, and I was just like, okay, let me just get off this call right now. Um, but um, but yeah, I see it so much because. I mean, it's just so liberating, man. Like, as a musician, I don't know how far you went with it, but I mean, I've got songs on Spotify and Tidal and all those things. Like, I've had hopes and dreams of having songs kind of played on the radio, which they've had the pleasure of that happening as well. But it's just like, you just felt like a tadpole in an ocean, man. It was just like it was so big and mass and huge and the platforms that are out there now with the creative ones like I don't know if you're familiar with WavLake with the creation of platforms built on Bitcoin such as WavLake. I don't know if you're familiar with
WaveLake.
WavLake.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
That yeah, those guys, what they did and what they've done, and the thing is, you're talking to musicians, like you're talking to musicians who have felt that same frustration of, wait a
Mm.
minute, like I can create, and then also there's a peer-to-peer kind of value system, this value for value system is out there,
Yep.
like how can you merge those together? And then now on top of that, now on Nostr, there is a thing called Stemster, which if Oaken feels like a kid on there, then like this is where I'm at because it's literally you have this amazing platform which is built on Nostr where you can literally a producer can just put a beat on there. You can download it and then remix it and put it back up, or they can even
Mm.
put just a loop, and then it's almost like it's just like a collaborative space, and it's just like you just keep going. So we even started doing it like a cipher, like a weekly cipher
Mm.
on there. Like someone gets nominated, so a producer gets nominated, and then so it's actually going to drop on Friday. So they'll drop the beat tomorrow, and then everybody goes there, gets their pen, and drops like their hot 16 bars, and then posts it back, and then someone kind of stitches it all together.
Yeah.
It's just fun, man. It's so fun. So yeah, I love how whatever Bitcoin is. I mean, from what I understand, it's birthed out of frustration, birthed out of a financial crisis, birthed out
Right.
of thing, and anything that you're frustrated about. Like for me, my Bitcoin story is because I couldn't send money overseas very easily. You know, the borderless payments was a frustration for me, and
Yep.
there was a way to do it. Using Bitcoin, even other digital currencies. But that's what intrigued me, and intrigued me more to learn about Bitcoin. So and so use it to this day. So yeah, like I think any frustration can create a creative solution from there.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. And I think the way you're describing music and people building on this stuff via Nostr is kind of like it's like open source
Mm,
development of music. It's not necessarily, like the same way developers work together to develop parts of Bitcoin or implement proposals.
mm,
It's similar with music, and that's a whole new world, and it's fascinating. I actually come from that world. I was in the music business before I was a teacher, so I started a division of Warner
yeah.
Brothers. I guess at my
Mm,
peak, I worked with Jay-Z for a little bit and some other major names, but I came from the DIY scene, more on like the hardcore and punk
mm,
community, the DIY music scene. But I also grew up in New
mm,
York during the mid to late
mm.
'80s and early '90s golden era of hip hop, where people are handing out
Nice,
flyers.
nice.
So I saw what a bottom up sort of movement looked like. And when the night someone described to me what Bitcoin was, I was like, oh, this is DIY music. This is do it yourself music and music. Like this is open
Ah,
source collaboration, people spreading the word via word of mouth. Because a lot of what I experienced with music was like nobody was the people that I was sort of the scene that I was a part of, nobody was sitting around saying, okay, we're going to wait around for like a record label to sign us. They were like, we'll put out our own record. We'll make our own music. We'll put on our own shows. And that to me felt like what Bitcoin was. There was this inherent sort of
mm,
collaborative, we're going to build this thing together to make it survive. So the night someone told me about
mm.
it, it was an instant down the rabbit hole, instant. And at that point, I
Wow.
didn't even look at it through the financial lens. It was just the social lens. I said, like, what happens if people around the
Mm,
world can collaborate, all different cultures? And I also taught. I was a English as a second language teacher and a writing professor, so I had spent time teaching people from 100, 150 countries. So I was constantly getting all this
mm,
input from people around the world, constantly having my mind sort of develop as I had these conversations. And I'm like, wait, now we all have a protocol to work on together, and it's going to revolutionize money. Like, there was nothing about it that
mm,
seemed small to me. It was just like, this is infinite, and there's so much to. Yeah, and that was immediately when I was, like, when it took me a while to get the courage to start doing this. But my thoughts, I lived in
yeah.
Ghana for a little while, and I lived in Namibia, I lived in
Okay.
Venezuela, I spent time in Southeast
Mm,
Asia. But I was like, I had lived in so many parts of the world that in some ways were sort of cut off from certain traditional systems. But I had met so many people from these parts of the world that were so entrepreneurial, so good with their hands, so good with their business, so smart, that I was like, oh, the human capital implications of this, like what the world is going to
mm,
experience as more people have a platform and as more people can contribute to the world, whether it's teaching about
mm,
Bitcoin or even contributing as a developer or doing what you did, climbing Kilimanjaro
mm,
in the name of bringing more attention to Bitcoin. It's to me, it's
mhm,
just this endless world of human potential. And I think that
mm,
you're like a case example of that, which is, why I reached out.
mm.
um but yeah,
Appreciate.
so for me, the social, yeah, of course, but that's really good to know about Nostr.
Mm.
I don't know that I have like 16 really good bars or anything to share, but maybe like I could add a guitar track or something. But um,
Dude, just come have fun, man. You're very welcome.
I appreciate it, and I'll speak with you a little bit off camera. But I was going to ask if you could share a song that I could share when I put this video out, one of your own tracks that I could put into
Yeah,
the video, maybe use as the intro music or something. The
yeah,
other
sure.
thing, go. Thank you. The other thing I've noticed, that your faith is important to you. I don't know exactly
Mm,
what denomination, but I believe you're a Christian, if I'm not
mm,
mistaken.
hmm. Yes, that's right.
And I thought of something the other day. I was Isaiah Jackson, who in the United States, he wrote a book called Bitcoin and Black America, and he put out a meme the other day of Jesus flipping over the merchants' tables who were set up in front of the temple, and he
Mm,
said something like, "This
hmm,
is
hmm.
Bitcoin, and the merchants are like Goldman Sachs and all this." So I don't know. I don't mean this to be like a facetious question, but I
Okay,
mean it genuinely because I've
okay.
had this thought. What do you think Jesus would
Mm.
think of something like Bitcoin? And I don't. I mean
Wow,
it genuinely.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's a really deep question and a really great one. But Jesus talked a lot about money, and it's very much part of stewardship. I think that's my relationship with money.
Okay.
He says, it's the love of money is the root of all evil. It's not money,
Yeah.
and there are people who will who are the poor will always be among us. That's one thing, and then there's responsibility for those to steward and look after the orphans and the widows and whatnot. But there's going to be those who are just gifted with making one, make two, make two, make four, and that's just the way it is. So it's a real heart issue. So with Bitcoin, I've been one line that comes to mind. I'd have to refer to it, but they used to ask him, there's a time when they asked him about taxes and whatnot, because he used to hang out with the tax collectors who were
Sure.
those, and they was like, okay, he was like, they were like, okay, should we give this money to the Romans? And he said, whose face is on there? And then they say Caesar,
Hmm.
and he said, fine, give to Caesar what is Caesar's then, right?
That's right. Yep.
So in my mind, okay, this is me now. This is me just, interpreting. I'm like, well, whose face is on Bitcoin? I mean, there's no face on it,
That's
right?
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
someone made that logo, but there's no face on it. Like, it's not like, all these different currencies around the world would have like a president or a monarch on there,
Yep.
you know. And the way it's made, I treat it as an asset, especially, I mean, especially in a developing country where inflation is just rampant. It's definitely been an opportunity for me to save and bank myself in a very way in a way and be a steward. So I look at it as a steward. I think there is if there is a parable about money, my favorite one is about the parable of the talent.
Okay.
I'll quickly I'll quickly paraphrase
Please,
it.
yeah.
It's just that he says the master, he has some different kind of servants at the house, and he travels, but he leaves some money with them, and then he leaves one servant like one talent, which is like a portion, I don't know, some sort of value, and then he leaves another one two and another one four and whatnot, and he goes away on a trip and he comes back, and then the one of the ones who had more was like, hey, you gave me four, now I've made it eight. He said, okay, well done, good and faithful servant. All right. I'm pleased with your work. The other one who had two, he made it four. He said, well done, good and faithful servant. Keep going. And then he goes to the one who had the one. He was like, oh, master, like I was so like scared and didn't know what to do. I just dug it and put it in the ground and it's back. And then he's like, oh wait, like you couldn't even put it in the bank. You could have got interest, like, like, and he literally says that in there. So you could at least got interest. Like you're wicked and you're lazy,
Mm.
like you didn't even move it. Like you didn't even like churn it and make it into something else. With that, I'm taking it and I'm giving it to one who flipped the four and made it eight. Like I'm taking that away from you and flipping it, and that always kind of gives me it kind of motivates me to be a good steward of what I have.
Mm.
I'm very conscious of what I've been given, what I've been blessed with, my exposure. For instance, like, I didn't ask to live out of Tanzania. I grew up in the UK and then moved back here, but it's given me
Oh,
a way to yeah, it's giving me a way to communicate. It's giving me a way to expose myself, and also
yeah.
a vision to come back to Tanzania and contribute in a way that yeah, that I've learned. I've traveled. I'm versed. So stewardship is a big thing to me, and I believe that is something that as Christians we have to answer for. How we spend our time, how we spend our energy, how we looked after those who had less, and
Yep.
how we looked after when we had more. So yeah, how we think about Bitcoin? Um, he didn't really rock with money, man. He didn't need it, but I think it's something that he was conscious. If it's an asset, man, he was conscious of assets, land and whatnot. He knew about that. So
Yeah.
in my mind, I treat it like land. So
Interesting. Interesting. That's a
yeah.
great. Could not have asked for a more amazing answer. So thank you. I appreciate that. Really, really
Oh,
fascinating. And
yo, yo. Thank you for letting me share. Appreciate it.
no, of course, of course. I did not know how. So, what age did you move from the UK back to Tanzania?
So, I was born in Tanzania, and then when I was one, we moved to Kuwait, the Middle East, and then we were there for about 2, 3 years, and then there was the Gulf War, so we had to leave,
Mm-hmm.
and then moved to the UK. So I was in the UK for 25 years. So
Wow.
homeschooling there, got uni there, and worked there, and then when I was 28, 27, 28, I moved to Tanzania. So. Yeah, 27 makes
Wow.
sense because this is my 10th anniversary is coming September 13th actually. Wow, actually
Cool.
yes. Yeah, 10-year anniversary is coming up. So, yeah. Yeah, man.
Cool. Is your accent, is it sort of a blend like between
I think
Tanzanian accent?
I think it's murked now. It's like there's I mean some think there's some American twang in there. There's some
Oh,
British twang in there now, and it's just all messy now. I don't even know what it sounds like anymore.
interesting. Because
But
I was
yeah.
like, I was thinking of it. I don't know that I have had students from Tanzania, and I was like, is this the accent? Now that you're saying this, I'm
Oh
like, oh
no,
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 this
no,
is
no.
this is a
I'm a
combination of a
I'm
lot
a
of things.
I'm a
Yeah.
hybrid. Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm a hybrid. Yeah,
Got it.
I'm a hybrid.
Cool. Okay. Nice. Well,
Yeah.
you've set an example. You've done this amazing work. Do you have any tips for people who are looking to use Geyser Fund as a platform to fundraise, and tips in terms of conceptualizing sort of what to do to fundraise for, and then the actual process of fundraising?
Mm.
What should they do to get people's attention and make people hand over their hard-earned satoshis to support what they're doing?
Yeah, no, I think within I think I've learned within the Bitcoin community there's different type of Bitcoiners. And the Bitcoiners that I wouldn't be in my particular place if it wasn't for these value for value Bitcoiners
Mm,
who are willing to share their Bitcoin for either for an experience or because they want to see a change in something.
yep.
Like for instance, those who have donated towards my songs, those who have just zapped me for, even posting a funny meme, just
Right.
I'm talking about the wide spectrum of stuff. And even
Yep.
now, regards to Mount Kilimanjaro. So
Yep.
so I think but the thing is, like, seek and you will find. Like, if you're really looking, you got to get your hands dirty and look and just try to ask questions and just kind of
Yep.
get there involved. Similarly, I was doing the same thing on Twitter, like when it was before Nostr. Just I for me, I was very focused on location. So my frustration was like where the Tanzanian Bitcoin is at. Okay, if they weren't there, all right, where the East African Bitcoin is at. If
Mm-hmm.
they're not there, where the African Bitcoin is at. Like it was just, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then until it came to a point where it's like now literally this happens now. When someone talks about Bitcoin in Tanzania, my name comes up. Like it's
Mm,
just it that's just kind of how I've 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 just participated in spaces, sat, listened, asked my question, my one question, my two question, retreated, whatever the case may be. It's and they value you that way. It is a community. It's like if you don't contribute to the space, I don't think I would have got funded. Like I think it was a leverage of the fact that I share, I comment on things on
yep.
not for the sake to get some back, but I
Yep.
engage. I'm
Yep.
engaging in the community.
Yeah.
So my advice would be like just either sit in a space, find a space that was how I kind of got involved. So there was a lot of Twitter spaces that I would sit in and just listen, especially ones Africa specific ones.
Mm-hmm.
That was my specific one. So whatever your topic is, I mean you hear Bitcoin Cassie on there, Bitcoin Ubuntu,
Yeah.
Okin, KG, Marcel. Like it's the same people. It's the same people. Like, and when you see it's the same people, you're like, oh, okay, it's actually kind of small. This community is actually kind of small.
Yep.
So yeah, just find within the Bitcoin community there is another community. So I'm part of like the African Bitcoin community, and then I'm part of a music community as well. So those are probably my two big
Yeah.
strong ones. And I'm trying to break into the educator community, which
Yeah.
is, fair enough. That's that I don't have that much experience in that. So I'm trying to push into that boundary now as well. So same
Awesome.
thing. I'm starting from scratch and working my way up to that. So just sit in spaces and ask questions. That's a good start.
Cool. Yeah. Great suggestions. And I also great breakdown of how there are different Bitcoiners and these different niches within the Bitcoin community, because it's definitely a real thing. So for people out there who are sort of
Hmm.
new to Bitcoin, it's definitely not good. It's definitely not the best way to think about Bitcoiners or Bitcoin enthusiasts as a very homogenous thing, because there's many different approaches to this, thinking about it as a network, an asset, and then all these niches within it. There's so much to sort of take into consideration, a lot of personalities involved, and it's a very diverse, broad community in many senses, not
Mm,
necessarily in just nationalities, heritages, gender, whatever. It's diverse on many different levels. There's a lot of different approaches to this. Um, I'm
yeah.
going to wrap it up there, but I want for you to take a moment, if you don't mind. Please let people know where they could find you on WavLake, where they could find you on Nostr, or how they can find you on these places so that they can support some of your projects.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so on X, you can find me there, Man Like Kweks. So Kweks is spelled Kweks. On Nostr, you just find Man Like Kweks, and it's a brand. Like literally, if you just type in Man Like Kweks, even on Google search, I'll pop up there. WavLake, you'll find me the same name, and it's just been a great thing. I gotta thank my nephew for giving me such a cool name.
Nice.
So yeah, usually WavLake, X, and Nostr. I'm mostly on Nostr. X. Um, it's like a bi-weekly thing. Definitely check the DMs more than I check anything
Sure.
else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm on Nostr quite a lot and have a lot of fun there.
Cool. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I'm fascinated by the world of Nostr and Twitter. Well, I kind of feel like it's moving over to Nostr. A lot of the Twitter community is moving over there and doing more. But this world of like Bitcoin personalities, people in the space. One of the reasons I
Mm,
started this podcast is to see sort of who's behind the handle and to like put a face to it and to hear
mm,
their voice. So this was really, really
mm,
satisfying. Yeah, I heard a lot of great things
mm,
about you from Marcel Lorraine. The work she's doing is really
mm,
inspiring, and I really love what she's doing.
mm.
So I took her sort of, when she talked about you, I was like, okay, I got to find out who this guy is. So thank you for taking the time to have this conversation. Yeah, this has
Yeah.
been, yeah. Anything else you want to add before we close this out?
Oh man. I mean, I'm really interested in your story, but I'm just curious because I ambitiously called this Kilimanjaro trip POWA Kili 23, as in like there might be a sequel. So
Mm.
so um I there might be a POWA Kili 24. And
Ooh.
I'm really yeah, so yeah, that's yeah, okay, that piqued your interest a little bit.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
but I mean it had such a great, response and such a great journey. So I would love to. I think I would be encouraged to do it again if I had others who were willing to do it too. So I'm thinking again, similar time next year.
Okay.
I'm potentially thinking that I need to recover a little bit and just I have asked myself a few questions, but I'm just saying money off the table. Would it be something you'd be interested in doing, like a personal thing for yourself? Would you think of doing something like that?
Totally. And I'm going to ask one thing if you don't mind. So I don't know whether I'm allowed to
Okay.
say this or should say this, but I know that there's at least a rumor that the third African Bitcoin conference will be held in Kenya. And I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for sharing this rumor. So if there is any way to potentially schedule around that, if the timing works
Okay.
out,
Okay.
that would be tremendous. So I'm going to be back in Ghana for this year's African Bitcoin conference. I couldn't make it last year, unfortunately, but I'm super excited because I'm going to be meeting a lot of some of the people I've been speaking with. I don't know. Will you be in Ghana this year
Yeah.
or?
I won't be in Ghana this year.
Okay.
I'm hoping to go to the Cape Town one
Okay.
end of Jan though.
Cool. The
Adopting Bitcoin one.
adopting Bitcoin. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. So
Yeah.
if the rumor is true, we don't have to get into it, and it's in
Okay.
Kenya for the third year, I would love to make that the
Oh man.
trip. Something like that, I think would be a really,
Okay.
yeah.
That's a great idea. Yeah. I'm sure I know those organizers, man. So I'll bump heads with them and
Okay.
see what we can come up with. That sounds
Okay.
cool. That sounds cool. That sounds
Nice.
really cool.
I won't share any
Yeah.
names here just so I don't get in trouble for anyone like spilling the beans too early. But yeah, that sounds great, and
That's all good.
I'm super into that stuff. As I mentioned, like I train for long distance triathlon and stuff like that. So I love endurance things. I love the outdoors, and I always enjoy. I spent a lot of time in rural Africa, so being out in nature in Africa, it's just yeah. I mean, it's like the
Oh
privilege of a
man.
lifetime, really. So yeah,
Awesome.
let's leave it at that. I'm sure this conversation will continue either in person or maybe we'll do this again at some point in the near future. But I love the way you're thinking. I love everything you're doing. Thank you for sharing everything that you did today. And yeah, this was a pleasure. Thank you again.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate.
My pleasure. We'll talk soon.